Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. And we have Jason Dean, and he's of bravetv.com. And we've got a full show for you today. So Jason, welcome.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate having me on.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about fasting. We're going to talk about parasites. And one of the things that I've heard you say is that parasites are the cause of so many things of why people are sick. And they blame it on all these other things. And that's what the root cause is. So first, I want you to just kind of talk a little bit about what your fasting regimen is, kind of what your health is, and then talk about where you got this idea of that parasites are kind of the hidden root of all these health issues.
Yeah, fasting is interesting. So I've been fasting for like years now, and I've never. I dive into the science of fasting, but this is people ask me all the time, tell me about all the in-depth details of your fasting and how you do it, what you eat. And I go, it's really simple, like to the point where I don't even put a lot of thought onto it. Simple. So the fact is probably, I would say 5 to 6 days a week, I'm fasting. Well, what's that look like? Well, I go to bed and I don't eat until probably 1 o'clock the next day. So my lunch is actually, it's later than that now because of my show. So my lunch probably starts anywhere from 1:30 to 2:30. Typically, its sweet spot is about 2 o'clock. So I don't eat lunch until about 2 o'clock. And then I get home, and sometimes I usually eat later just because of our schedules. So anywhere between 7 and 9, I could eat, and then you shut it down. And then I don't eat again till the next day. Now in the morning, I'll have some bulletproof coffee or something like that. So MCT oil, some butter, coffee. I might throw in some xylitol. I'm a former sugar junkie. So I do my best to stay away from all the unnecessary sugars. But so that's my, 12, 14, there's 16, 17-ish hour fasting window, roughly 5 to 6 days a week. And you say, well, what do you do the other two? So on the weekend, I get up, and typically I also bring into it kind of intuitive eating. And when I say intuitive eating, are you hungry? Then eat kind of thing. So on Saturday or Sunday, I'll get up, and, we travel a lot, but we're also just home because we travel so much. We just kind of want to relax in the morning on Saturday or Sunday morning. And I'll get up and I'll have like an omelet or something, or my daughter gets up and we have like keto pancakes. So she'll make some keto pancakes because she loves to cook. She's 9. She's like in the kitchen doing her thing. And so I'll have something here or there. We might have some like raw maple syrup every once in a while. We try to keep it the low carb lifestyle down. So that's my, 1 or 2 days of eating, but I'm also usually hungry. So it's not about, fasting. Some people, I always call the radicals, right? So we have radicals on both ends. We have the radicals in mainstream medicine who won't even look at anything in nutrition. And then we have the radicals over nutrition who are in some of them popular names out there who are down to the minute that you eat something, or down to the second that you're eating something, or within this window. I don't personally get that crazy, just because 1, it's not really my brand, but 2, intuitive eating. If you're hungry, eat. And what do I eat? It's typically, I eat meat. So I lean more towards a carnivore lifestyle, obviously grass-fed, free-range organic meats. I stick with beef, lamb. I love elk. I do some fatty chicken, and then butter. So fat. My wife is more of a vegetable person, not plant-based. So she's carnivore, but she likes to have vegetables with dinner. I can give or take any given day. It doesn't really matter to me. We have a local farm where we get our beef and our meat, and they make hot dogs now that are literally just all beef hot dogs. And people are like, hot dogs, how could you? It's literally all free range organic beef hot dogs, and they're gigantic. And so yesterday I just ate 3 hot dogs, and that was it. Like, I'm done kind of thing. So that's really how I eat. Every once in a while, if you have a sugar craving, we have oranges in the house. I live in Florida, so it's a citrus world. We get cherries for the summer. Whatever kind of local or, that time, summertime, fall, et cetera, we might have in the house. And then that's kind of about it. It's not, people ask us all the time. I don't know if you get this, but people are like, well, I need recipes. I need to know what you eat. I'm like, my wife is Italian and we don't do recipes in the house. Now she can cook like insane. I mean, she is an amazing cook, but here's the recipe. You come home, she opens up the fridge, she takes out steaks or a piece of meat, or she'll take out ground bison or whatever it is. And she'll either throw it in a pan on the stove and cook it with vegetables, or I'll take it out onto the smoker or to the grill and I'll cook it in 20 minutes or less. We have dinner. There is no recipe. There is no perfectly, ration spices or whatever. Like spices, sure, we have spices. You sprinkle some on depending on how much you want and you go for it. I think too many people are looking for perfection when in reality, all of us out there in the natural healthcare world, we're literally just getting the job done. And so I think people need to spend more time focused on how to get a product at the end versus like all these different magical things that they can put together to create something that their spouse is gonna want. And that's really not how it works. So that's how we do it now. Excuse me. We have shedders down here in Florida. So I'm in practice still. I won't say much more than shedders, and people will understand what I mean by that with everything that's going on in the world. Now, as it regards to what I deal with and where did parasites come from? We've been working in chiropractic. So I'm a chiropractor. I also deal in functional nutrition, and we've been doing that for, I think, 20 years in our practice now. And we deal with really complex cases. So we do also kinesiology. We do muscle testing, muscle work. And so our cases have just like very much increased in complications. So we get people that travel literally all over the world to come in to see us from everywhere. And one of the most common thing in people are parasites. However, they express themselves as many other things. So for example, I just talked about this in my podcast this morning. So earaches, ear infections, and this is just a good example of parasites. So a lot of parents will come in. I adjust kids with ear infections, but we also find out what the source is. And they come in and they go, well, my child is having ear pain, fever, et cetera. So I went to the doctor, the pediatrician, and they gave them antibiotics. And the first question I ask is, well, how do they know it's a bacteria? And they go, well, they said it's an ear infection. I go, that's not what I asked. How do they know it's a bacterial ear infection? Well, what do you mean? They just know. I go, no, they don't. How, what do you mean? How would you know? Did they take a culture? Well, what's a culture? Yeah, where you actually take out some of the stuff and you find out what is going on. And that takes usually a couple of days. It might take a day. And they go, well, they didn't do that. I go, because they're guessing. They literally don't know what they're doing. And this, I don't care if a pediatrician's out there or not that hears this, you're all guessing. None of you know what you're doing with it. And that's not because I'm better than you or better than them. So if you have no culture, then how do you know what you're dealing with? If you didn't culture a bacteria, then how do you know what it is? Instead, you're going to give them rounds and rounds of antibiotics, which in my personal opinion is malpractice, because if you don't know what it is, why are you throwing an antibiotic at it? Because when you throw an antibiotic at something, you are nuking their guts. And when you nuke somebody's guts, you have years upon years of work to do just to build that up before it's ever okay again. So you're nuking the antibiotics. That doesn't work because you didn't know if it was a bacteria or not. And it just keeps coming back. Then you take to the barbarism and you take out the scalpel and they cut into the eardrum and they put tubes in their ears, which is insane because it should never get to that, because we have become such a medicalized society. However, when we test everything, we always come back to the same thing. These kids are eating really terrible foods loaded with glyphosate. The glyphosate is the toxin and certain Roundup that they spray all over everything. And when you actually test, when you go and check the grains in the field and you take those grains off, if you put those grains in a baggie, they're so sprayed with glyphosate that the soil no longer has an immune system. And the grains will actually have weevils in them. Weevils will turn into parasites in the body. These kids are loaded with parasites because of their really trashy food system. And now they have parasites throughout their entire sinus cavity, including their occipital sinuses near the ears. And now you have parasites literally giving off fecal matter, which is toxins, heavy metals, bacterias, viruses. So you might pick up on a bacteria and you might help it a little bit until it turns up again. But ultimately what you're missing is the parasite, the parasitic activity. And then these kids have over and over and over again. And that's just ear infections. That's not to count all the other different diseases out there that we find always come back to you have to kill the parasites in the body. But the problem is we really have a environmental problem on our hands. Everything is so toxic, including the food we eat, which is like why we really need an environmental reset, not a great reset, but an environmental reset where we actually we need to clean up everything. And so there's my encompassing message on why parasites seem to always come back up at the root of it. And I deal with no less than 75% of the cases in my office that come through either in the office physically or on telehealth that we do. All of them, parasites at different points and different causes in their body.
And like you said, like if you go to a regular doctor, or even if you go to a functional medicine doctor, they really hardly ever talk about it. Like they're not even aware that the hidden, enemy is gotten completely out of control. And then it's like, even like, like you said, like unexplained digestive issues, fatigue and weakness, food cravings, all this chronic pain. And so they're doing all these other fixes, but they're not addressing the root cause, which is the parasites. And you're not going to get any of the health breakthroughs that you want. And it's literally like the one thing about fasting as well is that it really does help heal parasites as well. Because when you almost are like starving
them out.
You're starving them out. So yes, you can do all these different protocols, but fasting is the cheapest and easiest one. And the only way to do that is when you're doing really long fasts, which are really, really hard. But one of the things that I want you to talk about a little bit is the fact that the moon has such a big play in the parasites. And like, I know that you have on your website some different, like a session 1, 2, and 3. And I want you to talk about how the parasite protocol works, the length of it, and making sure, kind of discussing like doing it at the right time for the full moon and the day after and all of that.
Yeah. So full moon, there's full moon and new moon. So full moon is obviously when the moon is completely 100% lit up. We just went through one, I think on the 13th, if I remember correctly. And then new moon is where it goes all dark. So it's the opposite of that. Okay. It is affected both places. So there's gravitational pull. There's also pull and magnetic pull of the planets. So when people say, what do you mean by magnetic pulls of the planet? Well, you go to the ocean, the tide rises, comes in, goes out. So same thing. So it's magnetic poles. If you ever met somebody who is in astrology or anything like that, that's what astrologers go off. Astrologers are going off of magnetic poles of planets. So that's how that works. So what we see is, and with my stuff, so I tell people, depending on how sensitive you are, I tend to be a bit of a over the top mega dosing biohacker myself. So I throw my body through a lot of different natural healing things intensely, just because that's how I am. My wife and others, on the other hand, they are a little bit more sensitive. So for example, they might take 1 capsule of something where I might take 5 to 10 capsules or something. So you have different ones out there. So we take advantage of the full moon. and the new moon as well to an extent. New moon, you can only do like, you can do 3 days, 5 days kind of thing. I mean, you can do a full moon protocol anytime you want to technically. However, we take advantage of the cycles. The good thing is there's a full moon and new moon cycle every single month. So you're not going to miss any, don't worry. And let me add this in. When people are like, I've never heard anything of this. Well, I would urge you to speak with anybody from island countries. So like Jamaica, Haiti, Puerto Rico, etc. Jamaica specifically. They actually know about this. They've known about this for a long period of time. There's actually classes in school, subtropical diseases, where they talk about parasites. Now, the problem is most of those scientists think that parasites just stay in islands and they don't go any farther. However, it goes everywhere. So when people ask me, well, how would I know if I have parasites? I jokingly tell them to take their 2 fingers, put it up near their underneath their cheek where their carotid artery is, or on your arm, your wrist, where there's a pulse. Do you feel that pulse? Yeah, I feel a pulse. Good. Then you have them, because no one's getting away from this. So back to the full moon, or I should say the Jamaicans. So the Jamaicans, they have tinctures that they make in the woods, basically, or in their huts. They make literally herbal tinctures. They go pick the herbs, they boil it down, they make tinctures that they take 3 to 4 times a year just as preventative measures to parasites, because they know the whole thing. And they're pretty clean eaters. I mean, they eat off their land, and they're still taking them because they know that these things infest. So they're taking them. We take them around the full moon. Now, I take my stuff off and on all the time just to make sure it's clearing out. My job is as a hacker to constantly be cleaning myself out and constantly be working on this so we can show people how to be optimal. However, if you're very sensitive, you're going to do like a 3-day deal. So it means typically you can start the day before or 2 days before a full moon or a new moon. Full moon is, you're going to get the maximum effect because it's a full moon. And typically around the full moon, you're going to feel digestive problems. You're going to feel bloating. You're going to feel moodiness, disorders, depression, anxiety, headaches. You might experience bowel problems, whether it's the diverticulitis, the IBSs, mucousy stool, you name it, right? These things happen when people look. That usually happens around full moons and new moons. So if you're super sensitive, you can do like a 3-day or 5-day where you start a day or so before the full moon or the new moon, and then you carry it through and you finish up that, 3 to 5 days, 7 days afterwards. That is somebody sensitive. And again, I usually slow them down on dosages because, for example, one of the things I use is called Cellcore Bowel Mover. And, I've had people put 1 in their mouth and they move fast. Whereas I can take 5 to 10 and it doesn't necessarily impact me because my body's working a little bit better. Your body's working if you take stuff and you don't get a massive reaction off of it, right? Now, long-term, you can do 15 days. So I usually do 15-day with people where, again, you start a couple days or 1 day before full moon. The intensity is there. And then you carry that through the 15 days. The amount of effects afterwards is honestly monumental. I've had people reverse their, not the full RA, but I've had people reverse RA pain in a week to 2 weeks max, just taking full moon protocols. Literally, they were in rheumatoid arthritis pain to the point they couldn't stand it. And literally after just 1 protocol, the pain was gone. Now it takes more to get the full RA out because it's a more in-depth thing and it takes time. And parasites throughout the whole body. There's different types of parasites. There's way too many species that go through, but protozoas, sporozoas, strongyloides. There's so many different ones. Hookworms, pinworms. There's stories about children literally. And yes, children are also being affected by this. A lot of parents have children's stories of literally their kid can bend over and, out the anus, literally worms are crawling out. They used to have a test where they put tape and put it down and see if worms would come out on the tape. It's that bad. So that's how the protocol works. Basically, getting them on parasite killing herbs. Now, this is the other kicker with parasites. They adapt. They're very smart, unfortunately. They do not like to be killed. They don't like dying. They also hatch, or I'm sorry, I should say they lay 20,000 eggs a day, some of them. So when people are like, well, do I really have them? You have them. Well, my doctor, I went in, I got tests done. There's nothing on the blood test. That's not going to show it. Well, I did a fecal test and nothing came out. That's also not going to show it. That is probably, it's weird because functional medicine doctors, even the natural world, use those. Medical doctors. I've never understood why they do a fecal test, because parasites that are in the actual colon and the small intestine, they actually latch on to the intestinal wall, and then they develop what's called the biofilm, almost like a cellophane, around themselves so that they don't come off the wall. They're very smart, and they adapt. So the likelihood that they're always going to come out of the body is not likely. So you have to really, this takes time. It takes years for many. And I go back to, we just had this whole 2-year situation of a train wreck, and they talked about some medications that weren't allowed to be used. Those same medications were anti-malarial, anti-parasitic medications. It's interesting. It took anti-parasitic medications to help people the last 2 years. So we help our horses and we help our dogs and cats with heartworms and parasites, which are animals. But we are too ignorant / let's use the word egotistical, that we think humans are completely, we don't have any of these things. But it's very interesting that every single, you go into a vet's office, every single animal has to deal with parasites, but yet humans aren't part of that. No, humans are actually worse.
One of the things that I really want to encourage you guys to do is to be getting at least 7 hours of quality sleep every night. I personally need at least 8 or 8.5, but I know it's hard to get that much sleep. Your mind keeps you awake and you just can't get comfortable. But there are hundreds of reasons why you can't get quality sleep. But it is so important because this is how your body heals itself. So if you want to get a better night's sleep, for me, it's getting enough magnesium. And believe it or not, around 75% of people, I think it's even higher than that, don't get enough. And that's what causes sleep problems. So one of the things about this one magnesium that I'm obsessed with is that it actually has 7 unique forms of magnesium. And you must get all of them if you want to get that calming, sleep-enhancing effects. And that's why I recommend Magnesium Breakthrough by Optimizers. So all you need to do is take 2 capsules before you go to bed, and you will be absolutely amazed how much better sleep you get. I actually ran out of it for like 2 days, and those 2 days I didn't get good enough sleep. So I've literally tested it. For our listeners, you are going to get an exclusive offer. Go to magbreakthrough.com/wasteaway, and you're going to save up to 42%. So make sure you put that coupon code of wasteaway. That's so good. Well, I have a few questions I want to ask, and we'll go through that. And just so you know, I've had a bunch of problems with my foot. My toe has been like swelling, and they can't figure out what's wrong with it. And I just know that it's like a bit of rheumatoid arthritis, and it's so much inflammation that it's coming out, and I know that it's parasites, and I just have to go and do like another cleanse. And I'm so glad that you're saying this and doing it. And it's like, even though like, even me who like, I know this 100%, like I'm 100% on board with you. Like I will be like, yes, yes, yes. He's 100%. Like I'm right on board. But like, sometimes you forget, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
It's like,
none of us are perfect. Trust me.
Yeah, we're not perfect. And it's like, I used to do the parasite cleanses all the time. And just lately, because the problem with the parasite cleanses is that you feel worse sometimes when the parasites are dying off. And so you don't want to do it. So it's like,
sometimes you can have kill-off symptoms. Absolutely. Sometimes we try to keep those down, but it can happen.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions that we get emailed questions all the time. And just so you know, if you have questions, you go to questions@chantelrayway.com and write a question, and we're happy to answer those. Or you could always put it into our Facebook group, which is the Intermittent Fasting and OMAD group. And so I'm going to ask a question, and then I would love for you to answer them after I do. So this one is from Morella, and she's from Hampton Roads, Virginia. It says, for intermittent fasting, I only have until 6 p.m. to eat, but I'm not hungry now. Do I have to make myself eat? And, it's funny that we get this question all the time. And I love that you said in the beginning that you are an intuitive eater, because that is what I'm super passionate about, is like, I have one rule out of any, and that is, if you're not hungry, you shouldn't eat. Like, it's just like, it's like intuitive, right? Like, it's kind of like, I'm not hungry. Should I force myself to eat so that I go into this window? And my response to that is no. Like, if you're not physically hungry, you shouldn't eat. And what I would suggest is wait until tomorrow. Start your window over. It's okay for you to be hungry sometimes. Like, a lot of times, and I'll ask another question, but it's like, okay, I'm hungry right now. Okay, it's fine. You can be hungry for a little bit. Like, when you fast, you're going to be hungry, and that's okay, because in your mind, you're going, great, my body is eating the fat from my thighs. My body is eating the parasites. My body is, you kind of go through all the different things that are so good for you that is happening. So my suggestion for her was, because she and I didn't go over the whole question, but I had basically known that she had told me that she, was just starting it that day. So it's like, for me, no, at 6 o'clock, if you're hungry, go ahead and wait until 8 o'clock or whatever it is that you actually are hungry. Go ahead and eat. Then the next day, try to wait until 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, whatever, and then start your eating window if your goal is 6 hours or whatever it is. But to not force yourself to eat when you're not hungry, to kind of go, okay, I've got to stay right under this window. What's your opinion on that?
I would also say challenge the body. I mean, so for example, I'll use my daughter as an example. So the other day she came out and she says, she woke up in the morning and she goes, I'm starving, with this very dramatic outtake, right? And I go, well, we're going to do whatever and you'll eat in a couple hours. But Daddy, I'm so hungry. And I'm like, you'll survive. You'll actually survive. And I say that for adults too, because adults are still children, right? This idea that, oh my gosh, if I go too long, I'll starve. And I'm like, I think Jesus actually fasted for like 40 days and he survived the whole thing. Right. And I'm not being mean or sarcastic, but we have been programmed into a snacking, eat around the, block, or, eat around the clock buffet type of mindset, where what if we miss a couple hours? And for that person, I would just say, no, you're fine. I mean, go for it. And honestly, challenge your body. See what you can do. Like, see if you can go farther. See if you can go a little bit the next day. And obviously, don't put yourself in a medical situation where, like, if you don't go 40 plus days, that's insane. Don't do that, right? Like, listen to the person you're fasting with. Listen to your doctors who know what they're doing. But, challenge your body. See what you can get away with. See what you can do to make yourself stronger. Because I almost guarantee you that this listener, that if they actually took those extra couple hours and then, went to the next day, I bet you they probably get some wins out of that. And I bet you they'd actually find that their metabolism became better and they became stronger from a health and a mental, spiritual standpoint too. So yeah, no, there is no perfection. Again, that's one of the reasons why I don't personally go by a calendar or necessarily a clock, because I want to feel out my body. So this will actually hopefully help that person actually feel out their body a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree. All right. This next one is from Tracy Pickrell from Gretna, Virginia. She actually asked 2 questions. I've been very disciplined with my IF since June 1st and now up to 18 or 19 hours. And I'm eating clean and limiting my alcohol. I can't get the scale to move past 6 pounds of weight loss. I know age is a factor. I'm 61. I've been trying to lose the last 10 pounds. Then she put Uh-oh. I think that was from Nancy Carey. Oh, sorry. I read the wrong question. Let me read this. This one is from Tracy Pickerel, Gretna, Virginia. When does the hunger stop? I'm starting my third week of OMAD, starting at 2 and ending at 7. From the time I get up in the morning until 2, I'm famished. Funny thing is that I never ate breakfast before. Dinner was my only meal, sometimes lunch. But once I eat that one meal, I'm not hungry the rest of the day. Tracy Pickerel, Gretna, Virginia. So for me, if I was going to answer that question, it's so funny. I think in the Facebook group, a couple of people had put like, welcome to fasting, like you're going to be hungry. You know what I mean? But the truth is that for me, I think that once you get yourself into like this routine of eating, let's say, if you're eating from 2 o'clock to 7 o'clock or 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock, whatever that eating window is, for me, like around 1 o'clock, I am ravenously hungry. Like I'm my body is just used to me like eating right around that 1 o'clock time frame. And then I'm used to eating around 7. And in the morning, there's times when I am very hungry. Like I know like 10 o'clock yesterday morning or this morning, I was like, I'm ravenous. And I just like took a walk. I had a cup of black coffee. I just kept myself busy and just made the decision that I just wasn't going to eat until 1 or 2 o'clock. And for me, like going outside and taking a walk is a game changer. I don't know what it is, but for me, taking a walk is like unbelievable. And then also sometimes my electrolytes are off. So if I have a little bit of like salt or something like that, I'll just take a little bit of salt and dab it. If I'm really feeling some kind of way, I might have a little bit of pickle juice because I know I'm, need something. But usually either having a cup of green tea, a cup of black coffee, walking, all of those things will kind of get me to that next window for me.
So this is what I would challenge people to do. And I think this is really important. So when we talk about intermittent fasting, there's also fasting. So long-term fasting, right? And because this also goes along with the people who are like, well, I can't fast because I just get hungry. The people who say that is your liver. You're not letting your liver do what it's supposed to do, which is supposed to dump its glycogen. So for example, more fun to me sometimes in intermittent fasting is actually like 3-day fasts. So I'll do a 3-day fast, and this is for people out there. So about 18 to 24 hours into it. Now, this is going to vary for different people who are different sizes. I'm more muscular and don't have a lot of body fat on me. So 18 to 24 hours is where you start running out of sugar and you start feeling a little dizzy, a little weak, no energy, and you just want to like sit down and like not do anything. And this is that moment where people go, well, this is too scary. I can't do this. I have to eat. That's exactly what you don't have to do at that point. What you need to do is you need to push through that, because what's happening is your liver is dumping and ending its glycogen storage. You're ending your sugar, right? This is the beautiful part where you go into ketosis, because once you get through this, on the other side of this, you're going to have boosts of energy because you start burning the fat. And so I would urge anybody to go through, again, I love 3-day windows. I just think they're fun. But that moment, because I have a lot of women that come to my practice who want to fast. But Dr. Dean, I just can't. I get so hungry. And that's why you have to, because also for the women out there with hormone issues, with weight issues, et cetera, you're going to feel that window where you want to crash. You just have to eat. When you get through that and you start burning the fat properly, that's when you see hormone changes. That's when you see fat changes. That's when you see big changes. So that's kind of some of my advice. But it's like when you're running and you feel like quitting because you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Right. And then you keep going, and like 15 minutes later, 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, you feel amazing because you had to get through that breakthrough window.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just so much is right between your ears. It's so much of that mindset and making the decision that no matter what, you're going to do it is really a big deal.
And again, you're not going to die. Again, I mean, you're just because you feel like you're going to, so if you're going to pass out, go sit on the couch, do this stuff when you have an opportunity where you're not standing, like you can be home relaxing a little, but again, your body will go 30, 40 plus days without food, right? You need water more, right? But trust your body. Your body knows what it's doing.
Yes. This next one's from Nancy Carey. I've been very disciplined with my IF since June 1st, and now I'm up to 18 to 19 hours. I'm eating clean and limiting alcohol. I can't seem to get the scale to move past 6 pounds. I know age is a factor. I'm 61. I've been trying to lose the last 10. Another question. I've been strict during the week, but on the weekends, I really want a burger or a bowl of ice cream. Do I allow it? I want to avoid a binge. I'll answer it and then I'll let you, Jason. So for me, I really try to eat what my body is craving within reason. So like if I want a burger, I eat a burger. Like I eat a burger, a grass-fed burger with no bun wrapped in lettuce. And I have all the toppings, like I grill onions and, all of that. For me, I can't do gluten because I will just feel like absolutely horrible. So for me, it's not worth it for me to have a burger with a gluten bun because I will feel so bad that it's not worth it for the rest of my day. But like if I want ice cream, I'm going to have like the healthiest version of ice cream that I can find that I know has, that I'm not going to be just like on the floor sick because I'm, for me personally, I know that there's certain things that I just can't eat because I'll feel so bad when I eat them. So within reason, I know that I can have this treat or that. And if I deprive myself, for me, I will end up binging on something. If I start getting like too strict where I say like, I'm not eating this, I'm not eating this, I'm not eating this. But I do know that I also, for the most part, I eat a paleo diet. Like I eat a lot of meats, I eat a lot of vegetables, and I do have like fruit, so that's kind of the majority of my diet. But if I want something sweet or if I want something, I'll have a little bit of it. And if I don't, I really will end up binging. And for me, I don't want to have that binge. So that's kind of the mindset that I have around that. What about you, Jason?
So there's a key word in there. The key word that I heard that stuck out for you and everything was alcohol. So cut the sugar, cut the carbs. If alcohol is in the diet, then there's carbs in the diet. I guarantee you, because all that alcohol is sugar. So even alcoholics out there, it's sugar. You're sugarholics. You're not alcoholics. You're sugarholics. So I will admit I'm very radical in the alcohol world. So I don't personally drink.
I don't either.
I tell people cut the alcohol, and it's not just because of, metabolism, hormones, diet, weight, anything like that. It's for your brain. It's for your mind. I mean, alcohol is used to manipulate the mind of the consumer. That's what it's used for. So, and I know people are like, well, I only have one drink. It's not telling you the sugar consumption, and especially when people who do that, they're also consuming carbs in other places. So these are my really fast carb restrictions that I would be cautious with. So, and this is what I tell my people. So, average carbs under 75 grams a day when you can, and that's usually for somebody in the beginning. If you want to be really great, under 50. If you want to be amazing, you want to be a rock star, under 30 grams of carbs a day. And then if you really just want to like blow it out, then you can play the game with us and try to go like almost none, because contrary to popular belief, your body does not need carbs to run. It never has needed them. It never will need them. And if it does need them, it also can break protein and fat down to carbs if it absolutely needs to.
Yeah, I agree. The more carbs, it's like carbs beget carbs beget carbs, and eating too many of them can make you go crazy. I'm the same way. I drink about 4 times a year, and sometimes I literally drink maybe half of a drink, and it's always because my husband will be like, if it's like his birthday, or it's got to be like some special occasion. So I'll drink like half a drink, maybe one drink. I think like all of last year, I think I ended up drinking twice for the whole year. It's just not something I do, because even after half a drink, I feel like, I think it's because of the parasites, right? And like, I just don't feel great the next day. So it goes back to that thing of like, okay, if I'm going to feel so bad, is this worth it?
It throws off the entire endocrine system, just so everyone knows. I mean, literally, and it starts in the brain. So it changes your brain. And I know, so there's difference between alcoholics and people who just have socially drink. And I'm not judging anybody. My mom is a recovering alcoholic, so I don't judge anybody because I've lived through it. I've watched it. It changes the brain, but then it also changes the thyroid, and it changes ovaries. It changes your heart. So your metabolism is changed because your hormones are changed. So endocrine system controls all of that. So it's just something, again, if you want to go have a drink or two, like that's your world and you're willing to do that. But a lot of times it's for people who are hitting a plateau and they're struggling. That's a good place to look.
So good. All right. This last question is from Trisha Smith from Hanover, Pennsylvania. I have a question about magnesium and digestive enzymes. I've been taking magnesium with my dinner and recently purchased some HCl to help with my digestion. Is it okay to take magnesium during my dinner and HCl when I'm done eating? I do OMAD on a 19.5, or should I take them separately, TIA? Which is thanks in advance. So I'll answer this one. For me personally, I take this magnesium that I'm obsessed with, and it has 7 different magnesiums in it, and it's by BioOptimizers. And I'll put the link in the show notes, and you can get 10% off of that if you put Waste Away or put Chantel Ray in the shown or in the coupon code. But for me, I am a big fan of HCl, taking HCl with your meals and taking any kind of digestive enzymes with your meals. I'm a big fan of that. I always take my magnesium at night, right before I go to bed. So it's just like right next to my bed. I do it. It's like a habit that I do. And I just go, okay, I'm going to take it. So that's like a system that I've created. And then I always take my digestive enzymes with my meals. And so that is just, I separate them. Like I've never taken those two together. I don't know that it's a great idea to do it. I don't know that it's the best thing ever, but I don't know that it's like a deal breaker either. What would you say, Jason?
So I'll give you my secret to magnesium. I don't personally believe anyone takes enough magnesium. And the reason why, we live in a very stressed, we live in a world right now that is so, every single person is running from left to right, all over the place, stressed out of their mind, not enough finances, not enough this, gas prices to the roof, et cetera. And so people are not only consciously stressed, they're subconsciously stressed. So I take an Easy Mag from Standard Process. It's got all the magnesiums in it. And I personally will take, now here's a crazy number. I'm not telling anyone to do this because some of you will not be happy with me. So I will take upwards of 500 to 1,000 milligrams of magnesium a day. Now, that's whole food magnesium. So if you do synthetic, you're going to literally be on the toilet for the rest of your life. Just kidding, but kind of. But the reason why is because you're literally urinating out magnesium on a daily basis and you're stressing it out. And most people, again, very high stresses or high stressful life, when you're stressing, you're burning that magnesium off. So you not only need to replace that, but you need to give yourself magnesium just to sit in the body and for your processes. So that's kind of my magnesium tip. So when people come into me, they're like, I need magnesium, and they see how much I give them. It's just kind of like vitamin C. I take 5, sometimes 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C per day, because that's what we're supposed to be taking. But remember, everyone goes by these RDA, recommended daily allowances by the government. Well, the government hasn't got anything right to start with, and they still haven't got anything right. So they didn't get nutrition right either. So those numbers are mostly completely thrown out the door. But yes, magnesium, phenomenal product. Everyone should be on it.
So the one thing for me personally, if I take too much magnesium, and I really believe that I actually am potassium deficient. And the reason is because like whenever I'm just not feeling good, like I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel terrible. I will eat like something that's super rich in potassium, and it's like I'm like a new person. I'll have like coconut water or an avocado, or sometimes I'll have like half of a banana or something like that. And I'm literally like in the pit. I mean, I feel horrible. You give me an avocado, give me some coconut water, give me half a banana. I'm like, literally my staff, like you'll see me like around 2 or 3 o'clock, and I'm just like, kind of, you can see that I'm kind of down, and I'm just like starting to lose it. And they'll like joke. Sometimes they'll go across the street, get me a coconut water or get me an avocado or something. And I literally will, just perk right up on those days. So I personally can't take too much magnesium, because I feel like it messes with my potassium levels somehow. And so I'm a huge fan. Like I agree with you. I think every human being needs to be on a really, really high level of magnesium. And it's like super, super important. But I personally can't take too much. I'll get,
with that said, everyone should be on minerals. So not just magnesium.
Yes.
So everyone should be on minerals no matter what. So that includes potassium. Everyone should be on minerals. Everyone should be on trace minerals. So when I say magnesium, I'm not just throwing that much magnesium in by itself. I'm throwing in the wide range of minerals. So yeah, absolutely. You got to catch all your potassiums, your salt alone. I mean, everyone is deficient in salt, sodium. You got to have salt. Like the medical system has completely lied to everybody about salt. If I see one more person walking around drinking a gallon plus of water per day, or filling up their water bottle 10 times per day, put in some electrolytes and some salt. You're not underwatered. You're under mineraled.
That's so good. That's so good. So let's talk a little bit about, like, if you said to someone, I want to kind of expand on this idea, like that's like a huge nugget that I want you to talk about, like some myths, right? So you just said, like, some people think, oh my gosh, I'm not getting enough water in a day. So they just drink. And then they still don't feel good, because like you said, then they don't have the salt that they need. So now they're feeling bad. So give us a few more myths of things that you go, this is what we're told, and this is what the truth is on some of those as far as health and eating goes.
Well, let's start with the weight thing. So I'm assuming that your podcast, you have a lot of women probably listening, and many of them are, because you're doing intermittent fasting. So I'm sure weight is the thing that they're trying to get rid of.
Yes.
I'll tell you right now. So the gym, I always say this stuff, and people are like, I gotta lie. I don't understand. What do you say? So the gym, stop working yourself into the ground. So I have people who literally, I make them stop exercising. I make them stop riding a bike. I make them stop running on a treadmill. You're like, how could he do that? Because calories are not why you're not losing weight. Your body has so much toxicity. You can literally you can make your body gain weight in a gym because your heart is exhausted, right? If your heart is exhausted, it's not going to get the weight off for you, right? So calories in, calories out. Calories are just energy burnt. That's all it is. So where does the weight come from? Again, toxicity. So eat correctly. I have people lose weight in my office every single day. And I mean, a lot of them without even going into the gym. Oh, how does that work? Well, because we're actually getting the toxins out. We're getting on a balanced diet. The other thing is the water, right? So a lot of people are drinking tons of water. A myth. Well, my doctor said if I eat too much salt, I'm going to have heart problems, or blood pressure problems is another one. Salt and blood pressure. So that's not how it works. Every single cell in your body needs salt, right? So you should be getting it through. Now, most people don't get enough through the salt. Like, for example, if I have a steak, I'm dumping either sea salt or like a Himalayan salt on it. Now, most people aren't going to get enough that way because they're pretty deficient in it. But dehydration is from a lack of electrolytes, minerals, and salt. It's not a lack of water. You can get away with drinking a few glasses of water a day because your food should have the water in it, or at least should have a lot of it, not all of it, obviously. But the problem is America is stuck on fast food, right? If you're eating a really good diet of good meats, good vegetables, etc., there's a lot of water in that food. I mean, you eat a good salad, that salad has water in it. The problem is people aren't eating that today. So there's a couple myths. Another one that drives me up a wall is statins. So people are going, well, I have high cholesterol. I need to get on a statin. Well, who told you that? The medical doctor who's taking pharmaceutical kickbacks. That's who told you that, right? They need everybody on a statin. That's what they want. They want everyone under 200 cholesterol, which is a joke. So we have a hormone problem in our country, both men and women. So men have low T. Women, their hormones are all over the place. You're getting pellets stuck in your butt, you name it, to try to fix this, trying to get bioidentical hormones that don't match your own hormones. So let's go back. Why is this happening? Well, the precursor to your hormones, or all hormones, is cholesterol. So you're not getting it. Now, your liver does create cholesterol, but you have to get cholesterol from your food. But they told you not to eat any more meat. They told you to go all plant-based. Well, you're not getting cholesterol. That's the problem. You need fat. You need cholesterol in your body. Your brain is made of cholesterol. So if you don't have cholesterol, you won't have hormones. So this is why everyone is so far off. And then when it comes to statins, I mean, the research is so over the top now. I'm shocked that they still sell statin medications. I mean, the number one side effect of statins is weak muscle. So heart attacks come out of people who are on statins because weak muscle. Make a weak heart, they're going to have a heart attack. Like it's amazing. The pharmaceutical companies get sued into oblivion by so many people. And yet the statin industry just keeps going while even the medical research shows statins are causing more problems than they're helping. So there's a couple myths for you.
Yeah, those are really good. And, as far as the exercising, like going too hard, I agree. Like overtraining, when you're going too hard, you're going too often, you're not taking that time to recover. And that actually can increase inflammation as well as the stress hormone cortisol. And then when your cortisol levels are too high, that can lead to fatigue, weight gain and stuff like that. So, exercising to excess can get some of that inflammation in your body. And so just kind of balancing that, and fasting in general actually, can cause stress to your body. So it's totally. Like always trying to find that perfect balance where, like, for me, I know no matter what, like I do try to walk at least like 3 miles a day and like try to at least get 10,000, 12,000 steps every single day because I need my body to move. I need it, but I do a ton of walking, and walking to me is the great elixir. It is so good because it moves your bowels. It gets your body going. It helps you just feel better. Like I could be like in a slump and I get out and I start walking and I'm like a new person. So I think and I have a problem with sometimes being constipated. And so that's where I have to take that magnesium because it makes a big, big difference when I'm taking that magnesium. But it's a matter of the walking to me is the best possible exercise you can do because it really has so many benefits and none of the, downsides of going too crazy at the gym. Well, this has been amazing. I've really, really enjoyed talking with you today. Can you tell listeners where they can find you and where they can follow you?
So the best way to get me is on bravetv.com. So just like being brave, BRAVE TV.com. And it's a combination. So when you go over there, you're entering into a different realm. You're entering into doctor world, but you're also entering into a little bit of political world, a little bit of conspiracy world. There's a lot of news over there, but I also do a podcast 5 days a week, usually at noon Eastern time. And we go through what's going on, but also we break down a bunch of the medical myths that have been in the past, as well as what's going on right now and how we fix that, but then how we also solve chronic debilitating issues for adults, but also how we save kids. So we save lots of kids from things like autism. We help start at least reversing the effects of it. We also get parasites out of their body as well. And we just start building our country back up. So that's what bravetv.com is all about.
And I want to really encourage you guys to go to his website on bravetv.com, click on the full moon protocol and do that parasite protocol. I'm telling you, it is one of the things I'm personally so passionate about because I'm telling you, I agree with him 100%. I truly believe with all my heart and soul that parasites are the hidden cause of so many health problems. And literally no one is going to talk about it. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And we're always trying to band-aid things with everything else. And so I just want to really encourage you guys to go to his website. He's got the Para 1, Para 2, and the biotoxin binder. Go on his site, order that today, and then follow the protocol. Do it exactly when he says about the full moon. I'm telling you, he is spot on there, guys. So go to his site right now, log on and get that. And you guys stay tuned because we've got another episode coming up in just a few. Bye-bye for now.